Hi there, I'm Lindsay Kyte, and I am the Associate Editor of Lions Roar magazine. And today we're going to be talking to Frank Ostaseski, who is a Buddhist teacher, an author, and one of the leading voices in contemplative end-of-life care. Thanks for being with us today, Frank.
Happy to be with you and to be with your listeners and readers.
Can you tell us what it was like in this field in the 1980s when you started out?
Well, as I say, there were really great hospice programs in San Francisco at the time. At Zen Hospice, we wanted to complement those services, actually, by explicitly bringing in spiritual practice into the care of folks who were dying, bringing contemplative practice into that care. Now, the people that we were caring for didn't care beans about meditation or contemplative practices. But what we found was when we had practitioners in the room, they were like the one calm person in the room, when you have a practice and you're willing to turn toward what's difficult, turn toward your suffering, and find some stability there and equanimity there, you can be of enormous help to people who are living in a very chaotic situation, their dying process.
And for you personally, why did you want to begin working in this field?
What I saw was that people were dying with a tremendous amount of fear and regret, and I thought we should do something about that. So, again, I wanted to step in and see how could practice really inform the way in which we give care. How could we see the other person as ourselves? How could we see ourselves in them? And how might that fundamentally shift the way in which we cared for them?
And so Zen Hospice became a model for other end-of-life care facilities. Can you tell us sort of what it's become today?
Well, Zen Hospice continues. It's now in its 30th year and continues to be a very good hospice program in San Francisco. And I think it spawned a lot of versions on a theme of hospice care, volunteer programs, other kinds of residential care facilities, etc. I think now it's really on the mainstream of care. It's on the continuum of care, well respected, and it spends a lot of its time doing training other professionals and healthcare professionals to do this work. I'm no longer associated with them. I started another organization called the Metta Institute, which is about training professionals in how to provide mindful and compassionate care to the dying, and also how to stay sane when you're working in a healthcare system, which is increasingly more difficult and challenging to be in.
Let's talk about your book. Your book is called The 5 Invitations.
Yeah.
What are the 5 invitations?
Well, first of all, an invitation is a kind of request for you to show up, right? If I invite you to my house for dinner or you come to my wedding, it's an invitation for you to show up, be present. So the 5 invitations are just that. They're an invitation for you to show up for your life, right? And to step into it with both feet and live it fully. The 5 invitations started out as practices which we used to guide our care of the dying. But then we found that they had a relevance for the rest of us in living a more meaningful and happy and purposeful life. So the 5 invitations are, the first one is don't wait. Don't wait. Second one is welcome everything, push away nothing. The third, bring your whole self to the experience. And the fourth, find a place of rest in the middle of things. And the fifth, cultivate don't know mind. I felt obliged to put something Zen-like in the list. So if you can see that there these phrases, these precepts we could call them, or invitations, are all interwoven, right? They all connect one with the other. And they all are grounded in our practice, our basic Buddhist practice, but also they were things that I learned from people at the bedside. I've sat with a couple of thousand people over the years, and they're really my teachers. They were the ones that showed me what matters most.
Where do you think contemplative end-of-life care stands now, and are there areas that you see that could be improved for the future?
So I think that what we're seeing is the influence, just as we're seeing mindfulness influence every domain of our culture, whether it's education, healthcare, even the military. I think we're seeing contemplative care beginning to be like a stream that's moving through all dimensions of healthcare, not just care of the dying. And I'm really applauding this and, of course, trying to support it. There are wonderful people doing it. Chodo and Koshin at the New York Center for Zen Care is doing it. Joan Halifax and I have been doing it for decades. We're both pioneers in this work. So I think there are really great movements and leaders in this movement that I think are doing marvelous things, really marvelous things. Yeah. And the culture is open to it now. The culture is more open to it. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for talking to us today, Frank. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it, and I hope it's of some value to the people who get to see it.